Hello, everybody, and welcome to It's All a Work. As always, it's me, your boy Big T, and to my right tonight, we are going to have Just Dressin. We have Hanji Manji had some things he had to attend to, some previous commitments, and he is following through on those commitments, just like we are committed to you every single week, coming here, bringing the reviews of SmackDown and bringing the reviews of Raw. Dressin will be monitoring the chat tonight, so Dressin, please, I don't have the chat up because of some kind of technical difficulty, so if you could monitor it tonight, if anybody does talk, just let me know what they're saying, or we can also respond in there, and we'll kind of do it that way for tonight.
Well, right off the bat, Majestic says he's got us running in the background. He hopes the con was good.
Oh, Majestic. Oh, very good. Yes, the con was fantastic, which actually brings me to my first thing. Oh, man, I can't bring up the docs at all. Anyway, it brings me to the first thing that I want to talk about was, in fact, Awesome Con. Or not Awesome Con, but GalaxyCon. Hopefully Awesome Con comes soon. So right here you can see me. I went as the Dave and Buster's Macho Man. Dave and Buster's is my shoot job. For anybody that doesn't know, it's how I'm currently making money, paying for the bread and the bills. So I had the opportunity to go there for them and promote them, but also promote the podcast. I met a lot of fantastic, great people, other people who wanted, who cosplayed as Macho Man, other people who just brought titles. We had a who's list at the con. We had Sting was there. We had Ric Flair was there. Trish, Lita. We had Matt Hardy. We had Lex Luger. We had Scott Steiner. We had Arn Anderson, and I believe his son's name is Brock Anderson. I apologize if I messed that up, but I don't think that I did. Rikishi was there. Sabu made a special appearance. I do not believe he was advertised, but he was hanging out with Rikishi. I got to speak with a lot of legendary, iconic, historic wrestlers, and it was just a great time. I got a lot of advice. I went over to Rikishi and got advice about podcasting, and I mean, Rikishi is just a great guy. All in all, Comic-Con is great. It's awesome building a community. If anybody from Comic-Con is here tonight watching the reruns, I know Comic-Con goes late. Thank you so much for interacting with me. Thank you for checking out the channel. Anybody new, thank you for checking out the channel. Very much appreciate.
Hey, you forgot to change the title again.
I did. Oh, I'll have to go back and change that. I think you can actually change it in the stream info, can't you?
Well, I'm not. I might be able to. I don't know if I can as a moderator, but you should be able to, yes.
Fair enough. So, oh, what happened there? Okay, that's fun. So, anyway, this goes forward. We're going forward with building this wrestling community and just having a great time doing it. I'm not the only one who was involved in some wrestling stuff this weekend. As a matter of fact, our boy Lord Dressin went and saw some wrestling stuff himself. Dresh, I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to put up the couple pictures that you shared with us. While I try to change the name, do me a favor and just tell the people about the event. You don't have to go into detail. Just tell them a little bit about it and what you think about it, or what you thought about it.
So last night I got the opportunity to hang out at the Horizon Event Center here in Clive. Wrestling Revolver had their pay-per-view event, Ready or Not, right here. Never had a chance to be at one of their events, but got the invitation from their presenter Sammy to come out and hang out, see the event. So me and one of my guys went out there. It was an interesting night. It being a little indie, things can get a little bit rougher, a little little bit more ECW side towards the end of the night, but you had a lot of star powers show up last night. We had at one point Callisto was there. We had Bully Ray came in. That the match with Bully Ray where he came in, I mean, that was a star-studded fight. You've got Paul Walter Hauser from Cobra Kai was wrestling against Matt Cardona.
Very cool.
And then the end of the match was Bully Ray coming out to help Hauser, to which they decided to light a table on fire and powerbomb Cardona through it. Oh, that match was the start of some of the heavier stuff. The final match of the night, they called an elimination. It was an elimination, not chamber, but an elimination match.
Okay.
They had 2 3-man teams that came out one by one every 90 seconds. They brought another one out. The only way for the team to win was for them to eliminate everybody from the other team. However, the stipulation was each member that came out, you got to bring your weapon of choice to the ring.
So like a hardcore Survivor Series match.
Yeah, you started with kendo sticks and chairs, and then moved up to one guy brought a fence section with barbed wire.
Nice.
One of them brought 2 plate glass windows. One of them brought doors. I swear to God, he cleaned out Home Depot. I think we counted as he threw them in the ring. There were 19 of them when he was done. Just doors.
Wow.
And then the last guy into the match brought a literal scaffolding, like 10-foot tall scaffolding that they used at the end of the match to power bomb the guy through a door, a plate glass, and into the ring.
Wow.
So all in all, like I said, it was a really good night. You had a lot of fun with it. It was cool to see some of the ex-talents from the higher ends coming down to help out Indy.
Sure.
I enjoyed it. I look forward to the next chance I get to go to something like that. I really do.
Hell yeah. Well, that sounds fantastic. And, indie wrestling, if you don't have, like Ace Montana said in the interview that we did on the YouTube and Spotify, if you don't have money to go to a big show, there's no shame. Times are tight, times are hard. Go to an armory and watch some of this indie wrestling, man. The indie wrestlers need our support. And, having some of the big names, like Dress was saying, come down to help the indie guys is fantastic. I know MATW right now they're having an event going on right now in an armory in North Carolina. Big Ace is wrestling tonight, so good luck to you, Big Ace. But the indie wrestling and the con is not really why we're all here. We're all here because everybody wants to hear about what went down on SmackDown. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about SmackDown. We're gonna start it right now. We're gonna go through it like we do every week. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're gonna start with the trailer, going over the drama with Roman and The Rock and Cody and Seth. Really, obviously, this is gonna focus on the slap, right? Like, the slap is the big thing. The problem with me that I have with the slap, and I talked about this last week, is just like, he just said Cody was a mistake. And Dresh, I gotta tell you right now, if you and I are in a heated argument, and you look at me and you say, "Yo, T, you were a mistake," I'm not gonna hit you over it. Those aren't fighting words.
No. I mean, if you take it into full context, and you go with something like, your mom sort of swallowed you or something to that effect, I could see it. But right. Just, you were a mistake, motherfucker, so were half of us, easily. Hey,
you know what? Facts. Not even a lie there. No lie told. Oh, wait, here we go. I actually got the chat up. All right, cool. So, sorry, I know there's been a lot of different eruptions and technical difficulties. However, if you guys do want to talk in the chat, I can now see it. Feel free to comment on anything going forward. Please do. All right. So, speaking of the slap, speaking of the trailer, speaking of words not meaning anything, or maybe they mean a little bit more, we're going into the segment with The Rock. A 30-minute long segment with The Rock to open up SmackDown in a 2-hour show. which means these
The
wrestlers.
man is full of himself.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the thing is like we've heard the reports that The Rock keeps going over his time. He does not care. He's even commenting on it now live. He's like, I don't care if I go off. I don't care if I go off script. I don't care if I go too long. Whatever. Like he still thinks he's the best thing around. And you know, I will say that his heel work goes deeper than just the storyline. So, which is great. I mean, I like it, but also, you know, I still have my own opinions. But anyway, let's get into it. Segment with The Rock. The ring is carpeted this time, right? There's a table with sparkling water sitting there, and you know, like a music holder, and what looks like at the time, at least, we'll get to this, is a music sheet. It looks like. So I immediately thought, oh, The Rock's gonna play guitar for us, like he's done in the past. He comes out. The Rock says he started his wrestling career in Memphis, Tennessee, which is where they were tonight. He said that his first name was Flex Kavana. And I will say that I did not know that. I said, Dress, I don't know if you knew that, because he was always Rocky Maivia to me.
Yeah.
So, Hanji says, oh, welcome to the chat there, Hanji, and thanks for watching us even though you can't be here. Yes, the segment was unnecessary. We're gonna get to it. So he says, finally, The Rock has come back home. He's done this before. He's done this whole home bit. I was waiting for the shoe to drop, and the shoe didn't really drop, man. He actually didn't insult the crowd, and I thought it was very interesting. He insults the crowd with Roman. When Roman's not around, he doesn't insult the crowd. It's more.
Well, I think he didn't insult the crowd because he was showing a little bit of respect to Memphis from where he got his start. If Memphis was where he started his wrestling career, you know, you're going to be a little bit nicer to the place that got you, you know, gave you your leg up to where you are now, you know, at least in my opinion. I think that's all it was. I don't think there was anything about, you know, Cody not being there or Roman not being there. I just think he was nicer with Memphis because it's where he got his start.
Gotcha.
And he was showing some respect.
Are you meaning to tell me that even heels have a soft side sometimes? Come on, man. Even heels have a heart? Let's see. Oh, yeah. So, people in the crowd allegedly, I only heard it once, but people in the crowd allegedly keep telling The Rock that they love him. There's one woman yells, I love you, Rock, and The Rock says, thank you, honey, I love you too. Or at least you sound like someone I could love, drunk and horny. And he gives a shout out to Rodney Carrington. Obviously, that's his joke. If anybody isn't familiar with Rodney Carrington's work, he's hilarious. He's a guitar-playing comedian. So he starts... he brings out these two guys, and he says that these two guys are going to take him through a blues song. It's Memphis, so he wants to sing the blues. And he starts reading off of this, what is actually not music. It's not a music sheet. It's actually a script. He starts reading off of this script. And it was really weird. At one point, I felt like he was even out of his element and kind of embarrassed, almost like they gave him the script last second, and The Rock was like, oh, yeah, I can do this, not a problem. Because it just didn't have a smooth rhythm that I would expect The Rock to have, but at the same time, it gave it like a realness, right? Like realism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in this song, I'm not going to really go through it. You can find it on YouTube, obviously. But in the song, he brings up the fanny pack. He brings up Stardust. He invokes Cody's mom's name. It was like a dun 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 kind of like blues thing, and then every end of the, I guess, arpeggio, I guess would be the word, you know, is where the joke comes and where the picture comes up, and that's kind of how he does this whole thing. After the song itself, The Rock brings up the slap and says Cody slapped the shit out of The Rock. He points to the Titantron and he says, He says, after Cody slapped the shit out of The Rock, how did Cody respond? What did Cody do with the biggest moment of his career? Then he plays the video clip of Cody crying when he was talking about giving the belt, the undisputed title, to his mother. And The Rock cuts back to The Rock after that, and he says he cried. And he's like, let me tell you something. You're not going to give your mom anything. He's not going to give your mom a title or anything. And he points his comments directly at Cody's mother at this point. And he says, you don't know The Rock, but you're going to know The Rock in ways you wish you didn't. He says that Cody took something from him and he's going to beat her son, and that he's going to hurt her and everyone around Cody. The Rock says that he's going to whip Cody with the Brahma Bull weight belt, and that Cody's blood is going to be all over that belt. And when the match is over and Roman is done with Cody, he's going to go take the bloody belt over to her and put it in her lap, and she's going to cry on that belt, and with his blood and her tears on that belt, he's going to wipe away her tears and say, what can I say except you're welcome? And he says, if you smell what the final boss is cooking. You know, The Rock got really, really personal actually with this one.
Yes, he did. He got extremely personal, and I don't know. I feel like that almost crosses a line. Like it's just like I was talking about when you're talking about, you know, a dead sibling. Yeah, I know they've got to get approval for stuff, but sometimes when you bring family that far into it, especially a family that's dealt with loss, you know, and stuff like that, it seems like it crosses a line. And there's a point for entertainment value, and then there's a point where it crosses into personal, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of crossing into personal.
And that's fair. And again, we've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again. WWE seems that they're going to be going more PG-13, more TV-17, excuse me. And, you know, they've been doing these things, these bits where they're talking about drugs. They're talking about beating people's moms. They're talking about, you know, this, that, and the other thing. Excuse me. Now I have the hiccups. Give me one second to get rid of these.
Well, and it's much less, like you mentioned, the drugs and all this. It's much less the WWE as a whole as it is just The Rock. Like, most of the WWE is still staying in that PG era. Most of them. The Rock is the one that's bringing on, you know, the era of the Attitude Era back in the day. You know, and everybody else is still kind of staying in that box where it's, we got to be careful.
I mean, and you're right, but let's not forget Candice LeRae on Monday brought up the Maxine Dupree's dead brother, you know?
Yes.
So they are very slowly.
Yeah.
But you're right. Most everyone is staying within the kind of the lines. But I have this feeling I'm going to give it SummerSlam. I keep pointing everything to SummerSlam. I just have a feeling that there's going to be a big shift there. I think when SummerSlam happens, after that, we're going to see just a lot more Attitude Era. We're going to see the new era. Everybody's been waiting for the new era, and it hasn't hit yet. I think it's coming. And we'll see. And as a matter of fact, Netflix also might be a turning point, a big linchpin for them. So, who knows? Anyway, so we'll move on. The Rock leaves, and we move to Legado del Fantasma, training in the back while Santos is watching, and Wade Barrett says that Santos will be in action against Dragon Lee tonight, and the LWO will be against LDF, which is Legado del Fantasma, in a tag team qualifying match next. So, you know, I'll get to it after the match, but I do not think that this is a good idea. And I'll say why afterwards. But let's go ahead and jump right into the match. It's Angel Umberto from LDF versus Cruz del Toro and Jaquan Wild, or Joaquin Wild. I think it's Jaquan, actually. Wild.
I think it's Joaquin, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know names. I'm sorry. Wrestlers that don't wrestle a lot, it's hard for me to remember their names sometimes, and I do apologize. As a journalist, I should be better. I will do my best to be better for y'all. But Joaquin, you are right. So the match has a pretty dull start, in my opinion. I was actually very surprised. First of all, the crowd was very mild. For a wrestling town, I felt like most of the night was wild, and I couldn't pinpoint if it was the wrestlers or if it was just the crowd just being very mild. But I did think the beginning of this match was kind of dull until Wild does a double suicide dive over the top rope, and then after that they get back up on the apron and they point to the sign. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was right before the commercial break. You know, and then they come back and they're kind of working in the ring. At one point, you know, Wild does an arm drag to Del Toro, which you heard that right. That is his partner. He does the arm drag and he bounces him off the ropes for Del Toro to basically come back and hit a body, like a body slam or whatever, you know, on him. And then Del Toro just does a backflip onto Berto. I'm sorry, Del Toro hits the backflip and then Wild gets a backflip. So Del Toro hits the backflip off the springboard, and then Wild himself does a backflip, just a standing backflip off the bottom rope to hit they're using the bottom rope as a springboard. We go to another commercial break and come back with LWO trying to regain control. Apparently at some point LDF had gotten control. Berto ends up taking back over. Angel gets the tag in and they run over to take Wild out of the equation. They bring Del Toro to the top rope and do a double military press slam off the top rope, which was pretty wild. Speaking of Wild, Wild breaks up the pin. And Del Toro hits a very beautiful standing Spanish fly. It's the second one that I've seen in 2 weeks, and I hope we see more of those. The standing Spanish flies from the mat is just crazy to me. You know, Wild gets a hot tag, and he runs Wild on Legado del Fantasma for about, I'd say, 2 minutes. Del Toro gets in. Del Toro ends up getting in the ring. Does a baseball slide drop kick outside, but Berto ducks and then shoves Del Toro into the barricade. They get back into the ring and Angel hits a massive side kick, and then Angel pops up Wild, and Berto kicks him in the sternum, and Berto and Angel of Legado del Fantasma win via like a pop-up kick maneuver. Yeah,
it was a weird maneuver, but it looked cool.
It did look cool, and if that's if that is their finish, then that's fine. I wasn't aware that was their finish. I haven't seen them wrestle a lot, you know. The match itself, I think that with all luchador matches, I think that it actually is normally like that. I think that it starts out
pretty low, and then they kind of ramp as they go.
Yeah.
Because, that's exactly what that one was. It was kind of in the beginning, but as it rolled on, it got, they got the crowd into it more.
Yeah.
And it got, it made it look better.
And they just kept getting faster and faster and faster. Yep. So here's the thing. I really thought that I'm very confused as to what we're actually doing with them, because I really thought that we were going to see LWO with Ray at the helm versus Santos and the LDF. I thought we were going to get this gigantic tag team match. But now they're in the 6-pack tag match.
Yep, they are. And the Ray thing comes up later. Ray doesn't come out because we all knew going into this that was their big pop at the end of everything last week was, hey, Ray's back this week. So Ray shows back up a little bit later on. I believe it's during the Santos Escabar match, or Santos Escabar versus Dragon Lee.
Yes,
is when Ray pops up.
Absolutely. And yeah, we get the answer of what we're doing with them. It's a weird pivot for the story. And so I'm just kind of interested to see where it goes. I mean, obviously, Legado del Fantasma is going to be in that tag match. So now, it leaves me thinking, is there going to be another tag match with Dragon Lee and Ray? Like, what do we do? What happens with Carlito? Like, there's a whole bunch of questions I have, but
I don't know. It just seems like it really seems like, both tag teams are actually a really well put together tag team. Legado del Fantasma looked really good. They looked strong once they got rolling. The LWO, we've seen them a fair amount. They're again, a well put together team, but it really feels like WWE just doesn't want to pull the trigger, push them forward anywhere. We haven't seen any huge push in their storyline, at least since I've been back to wrestling. Because remember, I'm the new kid on the block.
Right.
So,
well, and I will say this, from what I have observed, I will say that Angel and Berto seem to be the better of the two. They're pretty evenly matched, but if I had to choose, I would say Angel and Berto. So if they had to make a choice to go to Mania, I think they made the right choice. So, yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that for now. We'll move back on when we get down to Dragon Lee and Santos. So we're going to cut to Damage Control, basically arriving, and we're going to be reminded about Bayley versus Dakota Kai, and then after we're reminded about the match, we also see Bayley arriving. Then we're going to get an LA Knight segment. I liked this segment because it gave me a feeling of nostalgia, specifically WCW nostalgia.
Okay.
I don't know her last name, but Taylor is there. She was the interviewer for the night, or the backstage interview for the night. Taylor introduces
LA Knight.
Knight.
Kayla, wasn't it?
Huh?
It was Kayla, not Taylor.
Is it Kayla? I must have misheard then. They never put her name down there, and I don't remember seeing her. So it might. Oh no, because Kayla's Kayla Braxton. Taylor's the other girl. I could be wrong about that. I don't know if y'all do. If anyone in the chat or anyone watching knows for sure, please let me know. I don't want to keep saying her name wrong for now. I just won't say her name until we figure that out. Or Dresh, if you want to look it up, you can too. Either way. So anyway, LA Knight is introduced in front of the arena, right? That's what Mean Gene used to do, and that's the nostalgia that I was kind of talking about. She asks if he's been able to find AJ Styles, and he takes the mic from her and he says, "Look, honey, I need to cook. I got this." And she kind of walks to the back, upset. And I love when they do that to the backstage interviewers personally. But LA Knight says if he needs to get humbled, well, he's standing right here. Why don't you come out and fight me, AJ Styles? He says that AJ Styles isn't showing up because he knows he's not big enough for the ride. Says that he wants.
It was Kayla Braxton, by the way.
What's that?
It is Kayla Braxton.
That is Kayla Braxton? And
that was her.
Oh my God. Yes. Wrestling fans, I am sorry. I'm sorry that I've messed this up. Such a embarrassment on my part. We'll get better. Now, so, LA says that AJ Styles isn't showing up because he knows he's not big enough for the ride. Says he wants AJ at WrestleMania since he knows that AJ cannot help but show up at WrestleMania. He says that he doesn't own the place, but he will definitely own his ass, his meaning AJ's ass, at WrestleMania. He does his catchphrase with everybody saying LA Knight, yeah. And AJ comes out with a chair and attacks him from behind. Gives him a couple good whacks with the chair. Opens the chair and puts it on his throat and says that he accepts the match as refs come out and basically do nothing. They basically tell him they say, hey, stop that. And then AJ leaves on his own accord. Dresh, I couldn't watch. I have to watch the reruns because of work and stuff, and I watched it on Saturday. But the one thing that I remember you saying about this segment in general is that AJ's arms are still freaking jacked, man. You think he was jealous of LA Knight and he had to just get his arms prepared for this match?
Oh no, he looks like he's roid raged to hell and back. He really does. I mean, we're talking Scott Steiner levels. He looked rough. I love Scott Steiner. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, we're talking from like Big Papa Pump days level of just everything was no.
Scott Steiner, by the way, pretty nice guy. For the 2 minutes that I met him.
Now you glossed over during the start of that. I don't know if you missed it or didn't catch it, but when he started talking about AJ, he didn't say AJ Styles. He called him Napoleon Styles.
Oh yeah. You're right. That was a good dig.
Just a the good dig on it. Yeah. So,
you know, I mean,
other than the fact, good.
No, I was just gonna say I found out a random fact the other day that apparently Napoleon wasn't short. That was English propaganda. He was actually a normal-sized human.
Okay.
So, very, very interesting. Anyway, continue talking about the wrestling thing. That was just my side thing.
It was a really good segment. I like the segments like this that have a lot to them. They're short, but they got a lot of meaning with them. It moves the show along, but it gives us that pop, gives us that feel good, gives us that oh shit moment to it.
Yep.
You know, when you're not you're kind of expecting AJ to come out there. You're just not expecting a chair to the back of the head instantly, maybe a word or two first, but
right. Yeah, you don't know exactly how
the
it's
roid
gonna
rage.
Happen. Exactly. But speaking of things that move things right along, we're going to go right into the Jimmy Uso segment as well. So Kayla Braxton asks Paul, which is hilarious.
Doesn't it go to the Logan Paul segment next?
Did it?
I think we've got the Logan Paul where he's in the back talking to Nick Aldis about how he wants Randy to apologize.
Oh, you're right. Yep, I skipped right over that. I'm sorry. Hey, look, guys, let me tell you, if y'all see me messing up, please, just like Dresh over here, call me out. And the reason is because I've been at GalaxyCon the past 3 days. I had to close at work on Thursday. Your boy is tired. If I misspeak, I apologize. I am trying to be here fully. But your boy tired. All right. You are completely right, Dresh. Tell us about the Logan Paul Nick Aldis segment real quick.
So it's a real, again, another quick segment. But Logan Paul goes and finds Nick Aldis in the back. Logan comes up and asks what his plan for Orton is, and Aldis is kind of like, what do you mean? And it takes, he back and forth with Logan Paul for a minute because Logan's trying to hint at it without saying it, but he wants an apology for ruining his moment when he announced Prime and RKOing his business partner, and how, if you could, it would be good for the WWE if you made him apologize. And Aldis thinks about it for a second and goes, no, I think it would be better if you asked him for it. And Logan Paul walks away with if you could do your job, I'd already have an opponent for WrestleMania.
Yep.
And then we move on to the next, I believe it's the next match from there. No, it is the next segment.
Yep.
Because we go to commercial break. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? I just want to say this. KSI wouldn't have gotten RKO'd in the ring if he was smart enough to get out of the damn ring. He's watched wrestling. He knows what's going on. He's going to stay in the ring while his buddy gets out.
I mean, he just stood there and stared at the Viper's intro. I mean, if the song is 3/4 of the way over and you still haven't seen him,
he's behind you. So we move to the Jimmy Uso segment. This is a very quick one. It's very funny. Kayla Braxton comes up to Paul and says, "Paul Heyman," and Paul's like, "Oh my God!" And
Paul Heyman shit himself.
I say he sells the scared gimmick, which is hilarious, and he he gets ready to answer, and Jimmy just comes in and he says, he just kind of goes off the handle and says, "Last year was brother with brother, but this year it's gonna be brother versus brother. Yeet." And I thought yeet was Jay's thing, but whatever. They can both say yeet. Both just as dumb coming from either one of them. All respect to them. I do not like yeet. It's the weirdest thing. I was not a fan. It's because I'm old. That's all it is. I'm an old person. So,
I mean, the whole segment was him coming unhinged about him being the big brother and
Yeah.
And main event, Jey Uso being the little brother, and he's going to show him he's the big brother.
Right.
So.
And he says, I got you, Oos. Speaking of which, I'll say this real quick. Rikishi called me Oos today. And that shit was awesome. I don't know if anybody else listening has ever been called Oos by somebody from the bloodline. But it's pretty dope. And I try not to be some random mark that freaks out over things and that pops over things, but I thought that was pretty damn cool. I kept my cool in front of Rikishi though, alright? Rikishi's the man. He's got a presence about him, but I kept my cool. Anyway, moving on, we're gonna do our I'm not lying, Hanji. We're gonna do the Grayson Waller with Austin Theory versus Randy Orton match. So right before the match starts, of course, Logan Paul has to come out because he believes that he has to do some commentary. And while Logan is coming out, making his way around the ring, Randy's eyes are following Logan. Grayson Waller says, oh, this is a good time for me to attack. Attacks Randy Orton from behind. He does a 10 count in the corner, punches. Randy slips out, reverses it, and does the same. Gets to about 6, and then Grayson reverses back. They work
now,
to the
with that.
What's that?
Did you know that at ringside, when Grayson was doing the corner shots, Austin was sitting there counting them out with the crowd. As soon as Randy started doing them, he was bitching to the ref, saying, "Hey, he can't do that. What are you doing? Hey." You know, pulling the manager thing.
Good manager heel work. Or say, you know, people like to sleep on Austin Theory. People like to hate on Austin Theory. You know, Austin Theory's been put on the back burner because of the fan hate and stuff. But I mean, to be honest, Austin Theory is a good wrestler because people love to hate him. He's a great heel, and you have to respect that side of him. And you know, he did. To Dresh's point, he did good manager heel work.
He did throughout the whole match. He did his job through the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the heel manager, I actually enjoyed that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think they're a good pairing too. I think they're really like cocky young dudes that are both like in really good shape or whatever. Like they have like the sculpted bodies. Like I really think that they're a good pairing. They complement each other. So they work to the outside, and Grayson tries to cower back into the ring, but Orton pulls him back out, throws him into the timekeeper's area, and then he starts focusing on other people. He turns around to scare off Theory, who is sneaking up on him, and then Logan kind of gets involved. They kind of like have a face-to-face. I wrote down that like Logan gets in his face, but that's not really what happened. It was just kind of a stare down. But that allows Grayson Waller to do like a rolling face slam on the announcer's table to Randy. And I will say that when I first saw it, I thought it was dumb. The whole like I'm gonna roll at you and then do a pop-up move. It's actually cool. I mean, like wrestling is a show full of gimmicks, and if that's his gimmick, if he can get it over and make it work, hell yeah, man, do it. I mean, he's athletic, do it, go for it. But after that, we go to commercial and come back with Orton in a headlock, and they work until Randy gets the upper hand with a series of clotheslines and a spinning body slam. Randy hits 2 back body drops onto Grayson on the outside, so they do work back to the outside. And once they get back in the ring, Austin tries to get involved doing more of the heel work that Dresden was talking about here. But Orton was just too smart this time and gets out of the way right when Grayson is about to hit him, which knocks Austin off of the apron. Randy goes for his RKO after his middle rope DDT, and Austin gets involved again and pulls out Grayson this time, but he gets caught by the Viper and gets a DDT through the middle ropes for his troubles, the patented DDT, the vintage Orton, as Michael Cole would say. Grayson then rolls back into the ring and gets caught with an RKO. Randy pins Grayson after pointing to Logan and watches Logan. He hooks the leg kind of like this, and if I was looking at Dresh, kind of like that, watches him while you get the 1, 2, the 3, and Orton wins via the RKO.
Before we move on with that, let me just say, again, as a new wrestling fan to it, I get the gimmick that Randy does before his RKOs. That fucking the little spin. It's the Viper coiling. I get it.
Yeah.
But it is one of the most retarded looking setups getting ready for your finisher that I have ever seen. Like, I love Randy Orton. I love the Viper. I love the Legend Killer. I love his character, all of it. But that fucking coil up to me just looks so stupid.
Yeah.
Just drop to your 3-point stance or however you're going to do it. Just,
hey,
you got to do something.
You know, man, it's the same thing with Sting and the Stinger Splash. You know, and I'm not going to say the Stinger Splash is dumb. I'm not saying all that. What I am saying, because Sting's my favorite wrestler, I love everything he does, 100%. But what I am saying is that Sting did the Stinger Splash randomly on a guy. And when he did the first Stinger Splash, he hit the guy and he actually spilled out onto the out of the ring because he overshot the guy. But he said the crowd went crazy when he did it. And he was like, oh, I think I've got something here. The only reason that Randy still does that is because the crowd pops their asses off every time he does that coil. They know it's coming. I'll tell you what's dumb. What's dumb is Drew McIntyre saying, I'm about to hit him with the Claymore. 3, 2, 1. Like, that's dumb.
Yeah.
That's dumb. I don't
All
like
right, give
that
me 30 seconds. Just talk about the pre-match or the after-match stuff.
Yeah. All right, so the aftermatch, while Drush is taking his break here, after the match, Austin chop blocks Orton from behind while he's watching, I guess, Logan leave, and calls Logan in the ring to hit him with the titanium fist. Obviously, he doesn't have the brass knuckles, because who has the brass knuckles? Randy Orton from last week. So keeping continuity with the storytelling, which I like. Trust me when I say they're coming back out at WrestleMania. So, KO's music hits and he comes out to save the day. Chases them off. Randy almost hits the RKO on Kevin because Randy has no idea that Kevin actually is in the ring yet. Presumably he just heard the music. But KO stops him. So there is no betrayal yet. Orton spins around KO to catch Theory just in time for the stunner. And then Theory does this really awkward jump in the air and gives Randy a perfect RKO position.
It's like it's intentional, but it's like the old days to the stunner, you know, when Austin used to hit the stunner and people would just oversell the ever-loving insert expletive here out of it.
Sure.
And that's kind of what it looked like, is he was doing an old Austin oversell so that Randy could hit his shot.
You know, and I thought that first too, but when I went back and watched it, now it could still be this, and I could just be drilling down too hard on it. One of our jobs as podcast wrestling commentators is to look deeper into the things. So, to put something else in your head, it looked like when KO did that move, he had already jumped and landed with the KO. With the stunner. So he landed, and then I think he realized, oh shoot, I've landed already, I have to be in the air. So he then just popped back up and did it. However, it's fine, because again, that's a part of the oversell. You know? It looked goofy as hell, but it doesn't matter. It's an oversell, it's a stunner, it's what it's supposed to be. But that was just my kind of thought with it too, is that I think he kind of messed it up a little bit when he did the original stunner. But either way, it doesn't matter. They saved it. It looked great. Randy and KO afterwards laughed at each other. And I think it's because they knew what had happened. That also kind of pushed my theory a little bit. Because they got up and they laughed. But also they could have just been laughing because, hey, we beat the hell out of that guy. You know, whatever.
I was going to say, Randy, KO looked like, oh shit, that was cool. And Randy was just like, ha.
Yep.
Ah.
Yeah, it's always good to see Randy pop, too, because when Randy's laughing at something, it's especially hilarious, I've noticed.
Yep.
But as Logan's walking down the ramp, Nick Aldis comes out and announces that Logan Paul will not only be facing Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, but Randy Orton as well. I will say I do not believe that Logan Paul sold this correctly. Because right before the commercial break, Logan Paul just said, "Oh no." Like, he said it very blankly, very, like, just not convincing to me. It could just be a part of a character choice he made, but I don't know, it was kind of weird to me. That he didn't sell it like it was a big deal. He kind of sold it like it was, you know, he was feigning that it was a big deal, if that makes sense.
I mean, I don't know how I wanted that to go, because, you know, with Randy and KO kind of standing in the ring, almost looking unified in their dislove for Logan Paul, which I 100% would be standing there with them. I like the triple threat angle they're taking with it, but it's not what I wanted to see. You know, in some way, I wanted to see the two of them get to beat the hell out of him together.
Yeah. Well, that's
and kind of come out on top together instead of. There's no way they can come out on top together. I get that, and still take the belt away from Logan Paul. Yep. But I don't know if that's what I wanted to see. You know, well, I don't know that I just directly wanted to see KO and Randy Orton. I don't know if that was my, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely they do, and they will have good friendship moments. They will probably They're also probably going to start a feud after this. I think this is a catalyst for a feud. I think Logan Paul is still going to win. And I don't think that we're going to see Logan Paul lose that title for a while, in my opinion. So I think he's definitely going to go over in Mania. I think this is going to start a feud for Randy and Owens that ends at SummerSlam. I mean, I could be wrong. One of them could get the title, and then they could just start their feud. But either way,
I think you're right on that. I think Logan Paul's making them enough money. I know that it's a horrible thing to say about a storyline, but that's what half of them are. Is, you know, you stay on top until you're not making me money anymore, and then
who's the draw?
Your story ends.
Yep.
But I think Logan Paul is still there, not even just from the money aspect, because the way I look at Logan Paul, as much as I despise his existence, is that it's the WWE taking the angle of, you know, you don't have to come from the Rhodes side of things, or you don't have to come from the bloodline. You can come from middle of nowhere, Cleveland, I think is where he's from, and you too can make it here, you know, to show the younger members of the crowd that may look into it one day. Yep. That you can do this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, they're not going to tell him that you got to live out of a van off pizza that somebody's being nice and giving you for 17 years before you make it, but you know.
Yeah, I get it. So yeah, I think either way we get a KO Randy Orton feud out of this, and I think it's going to be hilarious. Because they're just both really good workers in the ring, and they're very funny outside of the ring.
I would say KO is just friggin' hilarious. I love him.
Indeed. So then we're going to go to, we get a trailer showing how we got to Bayley and Dakota Kai. Then we switch to Damage Control in the back with Kayla Braxton. Taylor says that there is no way Bayley can take them all out and still make it to WrestleMania. And says that if she's gonna break her, or it says that she's going to break her, and that anyone who feels bad for her is just out of their mind. Says Damage Control runs the show. I will say that I am impressed with Dakota Kai's mic skills. I'm not saying they're stellar. I'm just saying they're good. They're good. They're not bad.
I mean, she's pretty middle of the road with him. I don't think she's done too many spots, with WWE level spots. I'm sure she's done plenty of spots beforehand, but in this level of an event, I don't think she's done too many, and I think she held well for what she had.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is going to take us right into Santos versus Dragon Lee. Very high on Dragon Lee, I gotta tell you. Very, very high on Dragon Lee. I think he's great. Dragon Lee starts out incredibly strong, as he does with most of his matches, and he ends the start of his good run with a suicide dive. He keeps thwarting any momentum. Dragon Lee keeps thwarting any momentum that Santos starts, including throwing in a sit-down powerbomb at one point. It's really not until the rest of Legado del Fantasma gets involved that Escabar, starts getting the upper hand. He hits an over the top rope Hurricane Rana to Berto. I'm sorry, I should say that it's Dragon Lee hits an over the top rope Hurricane Rana to Berto into Angel, and when he rolls back in, Santos hits the Phantom Driver, and Santos Escabar wins via the Phantom Driver. Santos didn't have one piece of offense except for that Phantom Driver. It's really all it was.
He was entirely defensive the entire match.
Yeah.
And then he hits that one move and it wins. I mean, that's a little over the top.
Right. I mean, I'm sorry, his Phantom Driver didn't look that devastating. It is what it is. I'm not going to crap on everybody, but that's not really what this segment was about. This segment was about pushing the match for next week. So LDF comes in to beat down Dragon Lee like they did last week, and Carlito comes out to help, hitting spine busters on everyone until Santos gets a cheap shot in on Carlito, throws him into the ring post. Rey Mysterio's music hits, he comes out, and him and Santos face off in the ring and are yelling at each other. Mysterio ends up hitting a Hurricane Rana to set up for the 619, but Santos has studied his former master, and he gets out of the ring before it happens. Rey gets a mic and asks Santos why he's running, throws some Spanish in there, and challenges him to a match next week, and says he'll slap the arrogant smile off of his face. My question is, where is this going? Are we going to see a heel turn to even the odds, and we get a tag team match at WrestleMania or a WrestleMania pre-show? Or, I mean, why are we doing a Hall of Famer match 2 weeks before WrestleMania?
I honestly, to me, it looks like we've got time to fill for WrestleMania still, so they're just trying to find matches they're going to make. Remember, this is supposed to be the greatest WrestleMania of all time.
Yes.
So Triple H is looking for as much star power as he can bring and as much heavy-hitting matches as he can bring to try and keep these fans that are going to be in Philly engaged for the entire time. If you can still talk when you go to work Monday morning, you done something wrong, is how he's looking for it.
Right.
Because it makes no sense to start, other than the fact that Ray's been out and now he's able to be back. Was he hurt? I think. Is that what it was?
Ray's knee was hurt, yeah.
Okay. I knew he was out for a reason. I hadn't seen him in quite a while, but I didn't remember why he was out. But other than he just got cleared to come back, there's no reason to be starting this now. So why not save it until after WrestleMania and push it, moving into SummerSlam or something like that, so you've got some more time to develop your story instead of it feeling kind of ham-fisted, almost the same shit as, Ray and Dominic yelling back and forth before that whole feud started.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm fine with them doing the feud at WrestleMania. It's more of...
But it's just the same thing. It's another betrayal storyline, with Rey Mysterio. It's Dominic again. It's a betrayal storyline. We've already seen it. We don't need to see it again. Give me something new.
Well, I mean, I guess you are right with that in the sense of, it's like Santos was the student, Rey was the master, and you got that kind of stuff going on. So I get that. Maybe that's just what Rey likes to do now. He just wants the maybe he doesn't want the Giants. He just wants the son father or master student storylines. Who knows? But I just wish they would do it at WrestleMania personally, if I had to choose. But I do see your point in wanting a different story for Rey. I do see that. But moving right along, we're going to get to another qualifying match. Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate.
She's right. He does need to stop trusting people.
True. Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate versus Pretty Deadly. No entrances, just the start of the match, which kind of shows you how much they cared about this match. I'm sorry. Both of these were throwaways, and it kind of sucks. Both of the qualifying matches were throwaways, and it kind of sucks. But anyway, Tyler Bate and Dunne are in control most of the beginning of the match until some heel tactics that lead to a brief beatdown. But Pete just keeps coming back with reversals and chops and joint manipulation and submission style kind of wrestling. I mean, Tyler Bate really showed off. Do what?
I don't know how I feel about Pete Dunne's joint manipulation, because no offense, but half the stuff he's doing, if you hit me with that in real life, unlike some of the other stuff, I mean, you bend my finger to the level that you're showing you're doing in the ring, I'm gonna have to stop for a few minutes. Like that hurts, especially when you're doing fingers and stuff like that. I mean, once you push it past a certain point, I don't know.
Man, the whole gimmick is that you can bend those fingers like that, but the wrestler himself is so strong in the hands itself that, you know, it's to show the strength of the wrestler who it's being done to, but at the same time to show the intelligence of Pete Dunne at the same time, and the skillfulness of Pete Dunne. But I get your point. I've often thought that as well. It's like, well, why don't you just snap the finger off? But then it's like, well, the wrestler perseveres because the wrestler is so strong. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I like Tyler Bate. They seem to focus a lot more on Pete Dunne, which is interesting. Like, Dunne spends a lot more time in the ring than Tyler Bate does. But I like to watch Tyler Bate wrestle a lot more than I do Pete Dunne. I really do.
You know, I was actually going to say is that Tyler Bate had a really good showing that night. Tyler Bate got 2 hot tags. He caught an attempted splash from Kip Wilson and then does an exploder to him. So it's a deadlift exploder is basically what that was. He had no help with that. And so Tyler Bate is very strong. He hits a standing shooting star press to Kip Wilson, and then he picks Elton up and does an airplane spin until they both fall down. So right there you saw an incredible show of strength and incredible agility and fortitude, all in a minute and a half of each other.
Yeah. Now, I also don't know a whole lot about Pretty Deadly. Are they an NXT team, or are they a team I just don't know so well?
NXT. Basically, most of the roster right now are NXT call-ups, to be honest.
Because I don't know a lot with Pretty Deadly. I'm not sure about the characters.
Yeah.
But they were an impressive team. They look good. Like, their in-ring looked good. It really did. I was impressed by them. I love their movements. I love their, they worked well together. Even for it being a throwaway match, I think both sides showed out real well. I just wish they'd do a little bit more with Pete Dunne than the joint manipulations. There's got to be more to the man. And 90% of what I see with him, at least what I remember when you say Pete Dunne, is I remember the joint manipulation. I don't remember any of his actual wrestling, which to me isn't as good. It doesn't fill out the character.
Well, you see more. You saw more in NXT. I just think that WWE has a formula where it's like, get your one thing over and then just keep doing it. I think that's why we keep seeing that. But in NXT UK, they were really able to do a lot more back then. So Pete Dunne really does have a very deep move pool, same as KO. KO's move pool is crazy of moves that he can just do like that. It's just WWE says, this is what we like to see. This is what pops the fans. Make sure you do this. You have 15 minutes, kid. Go out and have a good time. So, But I agree. I mean, I would like to see more of his stuff. He does have a deeper move pool. Definitely does. So we end up going to commercial. We come back to see Tyler Bate reversing a suplex and getting the hot tag to Pete Dunne, who just runs roughshod on Pretty Deadly for a minute. Pete Dunne hits a suplex into an arm bar, and Elton reverses into a pin, which was pretty interesting. Tyler Bate gets the tag, gets another hot tag, and they do their corner move called top bins. It's basically where someone's on the apron and someone's in the ring. They both run at the corner, bop, kick to the head. Is basically what that is. And then we do like a hang time kind of elbow kind of maneuver. And the pin ends up being broken up by Kip. Elton gets rid of Pete Dunne by throwing him into the ring post, and then they hit a bulldog onto Tyler Bate for a near fall. They then go for another team move, but Tyler counters it and does his springboard like rope move where he like does this and kind of bounces off the ropes. And then Dunne gets a blind tag off of that, and then they hit the burning hammer. New Catch Republic wins via the burning hammer. Now, I will say this. I did say that this match was a throwaway. I do like... I will say, I will echo what you said. It was a good match. They both had a good showing. I just don't believe that they're the ones going... I don't believe they're the ones going to WrestleMania.
No. I don't see it at all. I don't know where they're going to fall out of the mix, but I definitely don't see them being the team going.
Yeah. So we'll see.
It's the Birmingham Hammer, by the way. Like Birmingham.
Oh, Birmingham. Yes. Yeah. Again, thank you. I was very tired. Like by this time, like I was dead. I was absolutely dead when I was taking notes for SmackDown last night. It was 1 a.m. I was gone. But this is going to move us to Bayley. What's that?
I was just getting home.
Fair enough.
From Revolver.
But this is going to move us to Bayley versus Dakota Kai. So let's get into it. Yes, the awesome truth is I don't know if they're going to win, but they're going to have a good showing at Mania, Angie. Bayley starts with a quick takedown that turns into basically a beatdown. They roll to the outside where Bayley fearlessly faces off with damage control, which really really pushes the story. I will say that the Bayley and Io Sky story now has way more depth than Becky and Rhea.
Yes, it does.
So I'm very happy to see that switch, I guess.
They've hardly focused on the Becky and Rhea at all. Like there hasn't been much there.
Right. And I don't think that they can put a lot there because they're both faces. And so what they're doing is they're having Becky just face everyone else. And I think these last 2 weeks are going to just be them figuring out how to build the story better for Becky and Rhea. But it's not main event level hype. And the thing is, it's going to be the main event of night 1.
Yep.
So, but anyway, Bayley rolls
as we go
back
through
into
this, what the hell did she think was going to happen?
What?
This match. What the hell did Bayley think was going to happen?
I mean, true facts. Very true. The truer things have not been said. Bayley starts with a quick takedown that Bayley rolls back into the ring. Brief bit of offense from Dakota, but she quickly regains the upper hand and works her to the outside where she hits a hard-hitting suplex on the outside of Dakota before we go to the commercial break. Damage control is surrounding her at this point. We come back to see Dakota holding Bayley in a headlock, but Bayley quickly regains control again with a running knee, and they work to separate corners where Bayley goes for a running attack to Dakota, but Asuka gets involved, allowing Dakota to hit a double stomp on the mat for a near fall. Dakota takes her to the middle rope to choke her, and then Asuka gets involved again, hitting her while the ref is distracted, and Asuka kind of jumps down after she hits her and does like a boxing bounce kind of thing, which is hilarious. And Bayley ends up regaining control using it's an RKO style maneuver. It's not the RKO, but it was an RKO style kind of maneuver, like using the ropes. Bayley goes to the corner, and Dakota cuts her off at the top rope and goes for a superplex, but Bayley pushes her off, and that sets her up for the elbow. Bayley hits the elbow for a near fall. Bayley goes for the Bayley to belly, but it's reversed, and she ends up sitting down in the corner where Kairi Sane gets involved, and that allows Dakota Kai to hit a great face kind of kick to her, which I thought was just really good. It was really well done. Bayley gets the upper hand, and all of Damage Control slowly starts to enter the ring. They take turns distracting her until finally they just attack her all together. Naomi comes out to even the odds, but Damage Control is still able to take over with their numbers. They get rid of Naomi, then they grab Bayley again and hold her in the air while Io Sky does a backflip onto her legitimate face. There's a backflip onto her face while they were holding her in the air. There was no way for Bayley to even really cover up for that, so Bayley just had to eat that. She just ate Io's body. Like, there was nothing around that. There was nothing she could do for that. And then, you know, Damage Control celebrating, having a good time as we end the night. The matches and the things set up for next week is Ray versus Santos, the Street Profits versus AOP, the OC versus Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, and Roman and Cody will meet face to face. Street Profits and AOP, the OC and Grayson Waller, in Theory. I assume it's going to end up being Grayson Waller and Austin Theory because the AOP or the Street Profits are going to get involved in the match. If that makes sense. So I think what happens is that the Street Profits go over AOP, Grayson Waller and Austin go over the OC, and then I think that the Street Profits get ready to beat the AOP, or I'm sorry, get ready to beat Grayson and Austin, but I think AOP interferes and Grayson and Austin end up going to WrestleMania. I think that's what happens.
Okay. We got... I guess that's technically news. I can wait.
Well, I was going to ask one more quick question, and we can go straight to the news. What did you think about SmackDown this week?
Outside of the Rock segment, I think SmackDown was good. I like the look into, you know, the even with the 2 throwaway matches as far as the tag teams, which with, what is it? It's going to be a total of 8 tags. 1, 2, 3. No, I guess it's 6 tag teams that are going through trying to figure out who's going to WrestleMania. They were still good matches.
Yeah.
Like the matches as a whole were awesome. We had great matches across the board.
Yep.
And even the Rock segment, while I wish it had been shorter, was still very well done. Again, I didn't like how personal it got, but that's just me. I don't know. But with the rest of the segments, yeah, I couldn't find anything about it I didn't like. I loved everything about that Raw. I'd go with like an 8, SmackDown, an 8 out of 10 on it.
Wow. All right. 8 out of 10 is very good, very generous. If I'm going to give my final thoughts on it, and then we'll go to the news, I will say that the Rock promo, I'm on the other side of the fence. I like the personalness. It makes me uncomfortable, and that's why I like it. It makes me feel like I'm seeing something that's not supposed to be said and seen. It makes me feel like we're peeking behind the curtain, even though I know it's not. I know it's all a work, but it makes me feel that way when I'm watching it live, and that's what I like about it. LDF and the LWO, outside of Rey Mysterio, I'm not bought in. I will say that. I am not bought into the entire feud at all. So I think that they're making wrong decisions with the feud, but I also think that we have people like Berto and Angel and Del Toro and Joaquin. Is it Joaquin?
Joaquin, yeah.
And we have Joaquin, who are newer faces. And I think that maybe that's a little bit of my bias, where it's like, oh, they're newer faces, I don't know them as well, and maybe that's why I'm not giving it a full chance. But for whatever reason, I just don't feel as engaged. You know, we've got, with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, Randy Orton and all that. I think that this ends up being end up being a big triple threat at Backlash or a pay-per-view down the road. I see Grayson Waller and Austin Theory winning the tag titles at Mania.
God, that would be horrible.
I see them winning the SmackDown tag titles. I also see Logan Paul retaining, and then those 3 ass monkeys have gold. It would be terrible, but I can see that happen.
It would be terrible.
Yeah.
But that's like, I hated, what was his name? The fucking surfer.
The surfer?
The guy, his whole shtick was he's shoeless and he was like a fucking airhead. He's back down in NXT now, I think.
The bro guy, Matt Riddle.
Yeah, Matt Riddle. There you go.
Yeah,
they gave him a friggin' belt.
Anywhere near. He's with I think he's with TNA now, or he went. No, in Japan. He went to Japan. He's not going back to WWE. That's it for him.
But they gave him gold.
Santos and Dragon Lee. I am a little bit more invested, but that's because I love Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee's work is just incredible. Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, good match. It was a good match. That's what I'll give it. Bayley and Dakota Kai, I think it did what it was supposed to do. I thought it was a good progression. I'm very excited to see what they're gonna do next week with them and the week after. Overall, I would give it a 6.5, maybe a 7 out of 10. As the spiel goes, if you want good news, if you want good reviews, and if you want good interviews, you come here to It's All a Work, with everybody saying, yeah, you can't teach that. And that's the bottom line. Because It's All a Work podcast said so. Y'all have a good night.